Pete here with the smallbusinessresourcecenter.com, your site for information about stimulus packages, business tips, tax tips, and more. If you need something and you're new to the channel, smash the like button, comment below. I'll see what I can do to help you out. And yeah, let's go from here. So the video, of course, is about the new stimulus package that was unveiled yesterday by Mitch McConnell. They're calling it the HEALS Act for the coronavirus pandemic relief. So Mitch McConnell released the Health Economic Assistance Liability Protection and Schools Act, which they're calling the HEALS Act. The acronym doesn't quite match that, so I had to look over it and say, okay, what am I missing? But either way, I guess they got it close enough. So this would be considered phase 4 of economic relief, and keep in mind, this is what they're suggesting and released. It's not confirmed that everything's going to be approved like it is right here. So I just want to make that clear. But it is $2 trillion, and I did tell you that it's probably going to be closer to $2 trillion than 1 if you watch my other videos. And basically, let's see. When it comes to the households, the whole idea of this is to obviously preserve businesses, get people back to work, and keep everybody safe. So that's layman's terms. They're increasing unemployment benefits, but they are going to be making changes. I'm going to go over that with you. They're going to have another economic impact payment or check. So the stimulus check that you're looking for, tax credits to preserve employee relationships, and forgivable loans through the Paycheck Protection Program. Many of those things I have discussed with you before, but we're going to go over them again. I want to keep in mind there's probably a lot of things in there, and they did have another meeting before where they said they wanted to approve this piecemeal. The Republican Senate said that, and the Democrats said no. I personally like that piecemeal approach because it makes everything transparent, so you can say, well, why are you giving $25 million to the Kennedy Center? They don't need that. But anyways, come on, we don't want to do that. How are you going to steal money if you do everything in piecemeal? So let's look at what we got here. So the economic payments are going to be very similar to what they had before. That means if you're a single and you're making under $75,000, you get $1,200. If you're a couple, you get $2,400. And of course, you have your tax credit for children. The one thing that they're doing different is if you're an adult dependent, you will get additional $500 for that. So that was not on the other one, but that's in this current bill. The other thing that they were talking about is to try to make married family members without Social Security also eligible, because before in the past they were not. They were talking about it the other day. All right. And they're also planning on restructuring the federal pandemic unemployment assistance. So if you don't know and you are on unemployment or pandemic unemployment assistance, or some states are calling it pandemic unemployment compensation. I don't know why everybody changes their terms, but basically it ended July 25th. So that means that additional $600 ended. The reason why they're ending it is because there's a lot of people in the government also who notated that there's so many people who are making much more than their regular job. Keep in mind, if you have, and really if you look at that statement, maybe the government should realize that people need to get paid more. No offense to anybody who has a lower income job, but I did talk to quite a few people who are making much more being unemployed than they were being employed. So if you have a full-time unemployment and unemployment is paying you more, there's not really a big incentive to go back to work. But honestly, for most of those people, I think most of their jobs were not bringing them back anyways, or at least not bringing them back in a full capacity. So this is how they're changing it. They basically want to go to $200 per week through September 2020. And then it said starting October, replacement would be 70% of the lost wages up to $500 per week compensation. So I think in Pennsylvania, though, actually there's, doesn't really say if this, oh, actually, you know what? This is probably an additional to what you're already getting with unemployment. So that could be the case. And that would be determined by formula. The problem with this is a lot of states have notated with the way their computer systems are, they will not be able to easily adapt to this. And I think that's why they're making this active in October. So giving states roughly about a month to adapt their systems to be able to make this work properly. So if you flat give somebody $200 a week, that's easy to do. You just add that $200 just like they were adding the $6. And then hopefully within the month's term, or I should say 2 months term, because they're passing this probably in a very short time, maybe at the end of the week, then they'll be able to give the additional 70% up to $500. So $2 billion would be provided for the system to adjust wages. Next up would be the Paycheck Protection Program. And I did mention to you the Paycheck Protection Program. I'm going to be making some updated videos about that, by the way, so you can understand it. So if you're not subscribed already, I would subscribe, hit the notification bells. I'm going to be making updated information about the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, the grant that hopefully will be back active, and then the Paycheck Protection Program, so you guys can understand all those programs. But they're going to put, now they said $180 billion into a second loan. So if you took advantage of it before, you can actually take advantage of it again. If you have under 300 employees, you'll be able to, and your revenue is down by 50%, you'll be able to take advantage of the second Paycheck Protection Program. So what it would provide is 2.5 times your payroll up to $2 million. Monthly payroll, that is. So, and you got to keep in mind that the Paycheck Protection Program is not considered a grant, but if you use it properly, it's forgivable. So it kind of is like a grant. But I think the way that it's being advertised, a lot of people cannot take advantage of it or had problems trying to apply. So I think they really need to look at their application process. Just like the EIDL, it was pitched being very good, but it's shown that it's been problematic for a lot of people applying, not being able to get those funds. Okay, next up would be the increased employee retention tax credit. Now, a lot of people said they were not for this, but it's in there. I'm not so sure if this is going to stay in, but basically it says they will provide 50% refundable payroll tax credit on certain employee wages to employees during the crisis. That would be 65% of gross receipts, up to qualifying 50% to 25% compared to the same calendar quarter in the previous year. You can also get $10,000 to $30,000 per quarter. So that should be able to help employers be able to retain employees for a lot of small businesses. So that's in a nutshell what it is. Then they're going to expand the work opportunity tax credit. And that would be hiring qualified individuals and targeting new groups identified as qualified COVID-19 unemployed recipients. So the maximum tax credit would be $2,400, 40% of the first $6,000 of qualified first-year wages, and $5,000 for the first $10,000 of qualified first-year wages. Basically, they're doing this to get people to bring people back to work. The new refundable payroll tax credit equal to 50% of the employer's qualified employee protection expenses. So that means coronavirus testing, cleaning supplies, protective personal equipment. This tax credit for this actually helps people come back safely. So they're also going to have a temporary full deduction for business meals. Okay. Well, Trump's talking about, I thought he already brought it back, so maybe I missed something, or he was trying to bring it back, but the tax credit for business meals was reduced or eliminated, and now they're trying to bring it back because they realize that a lot of business people, if you can get a deduction to take people out to meals, it actually increased the revenue. And, you know, and a lot of times it was considered like a presentation, which makes sense. I'm a salesperson myself. Sometimes I would tell people when we had problems meeting up, hey, why don't we meet at such and such a place? You know, grab a drink. You don't want to get drunk, of course, but maybe a drink doesn't have to be alcoholic. Grab a little meal, talk about what you want to do, and Now you got a tax deduction. So it works very well. But regardless, it looks like they want to bring it from 50% under the current law back up to the full status. That will get more people going back to restaurants if they can get that flexibility. The bill will also allow the coronavirus relief fund established by the CARES Act to be expanded so they can use it for shortfalls in their fiscal budgets for 2020 and 2021. So keep in mind, they already had funds that were allocated them and they were supposed to distribute and use them, but they were supposed to be used for certain things, just like the EIDL, the PPP. If you're using them properly, you can't just do whatever you want. You can't buy jewelry and a Lambo or whatever, you're going to go to jail. Well, maybe if you put your company logo on the side of it, you'll be okay. Because that could be advertising. I don't know. Contact your CPA and tax professional. Don't take my advice on that. Also, the HEALS Act would modify state income taxes through 2024 for employees that perform duties in multiple states. Doesn't really say exactly from the research I found exactly how, but my guess it was going to offer some type of relief. So you may want to keep in mind, I will try to update on that more when I get more news or if that's passing. The HEALS Act also would have $3.6 billion in emergency appropriations for health responses, including $1.5 billion to help students return to school in the fall. Now that's a pretty contentious thing because I know a lot of teachers and some other people have been opposed to going back, but they say it actually provides a very negative environment for kids if they're not in school and learning. So that's a tough thing because when you're looking at it, and I'm not trying to be I am trying to be the devil's advocate here. A lot of people are saying, hey, look at the frontline workers, like people who work at grocery stores every day. They see thousands of people. They're not getting sick. So there should be ways to get back safely. I don't know if you agree or not. Comment below. Let me know your thoughts or suggestions. Maybe we can get them out to people. But there's some people that are opposed to going back, and many people are saying, using common sense, we should be able to get back. Also, we're looking at liability protection for healthcare providers, schools, employers, which would basically limit lawsuits brought against them to exposure of the coronavirus. Gross negligence would be subject to legal claims. So you got to keep in mind, there's already been claims against many people, or I should say businesses, but it's really hard to track. Like if you go to a restaurant today, or you go to even a gas station, what are you going to say? Like, oh, I got the coronavirus there. Unless you absolutely went nowhere, went to one spot directly, met no one, and came directly back. It's very difficult to even prove that you could have got the coronavirus somewhere. When they're talking about gross negligence, I don't know how that could be, not unless they forced you to sit down next to somebody who is throwing up and sick and dying, and they said, I got the coronavirus, and maybe you were stupid and you sat there. Now the next day you're sick. Well, besides gross negligence, I don't understand how, that would be affected, but obviously gross negligence would not be covered. If somebody's trying to comply with the CARES Act and local, state, federal laws, you'd be protected from liability. Okay, and I also want to note, like I did mention, that there's probably a lot more in this that I'm mentioning, but that's the problem with a lot of these things. They put so much in, and that's why some of the groups like to package it, because there's probably thousands of pages, hundreds, and then there's a couple things that are slipped in there. But these are most of the things that you would be interested and want to know about. There's something you're curious about, comment below and let me know what that is. I'll try to do some research on it. But in order for this to pass, we need support from the Democrats and the Republicans alike. There's probably going to be a few days of negotiation, and they did state they're going to try to pass this by the end of the month, so they only got a little bit of time. So this is Pete with the Small Business Resource Center YouTube channel. Smash a like button, comment below if you need help with anything or have questions about this video, share this with a friend, and have a great day.